Hello and welcome to India Global on NDTV. So, in our childhood, we all imagined being part of the magical fantasies and magical stories of, Cinderella with her glass slipper or Hansel and Gretel with its candy house. And bookshops become a crucial part of protecting these stories and sharing them with children over decades. And hence, owners of bookshops become even more crucial. So today we have with us one such protector of these childhood stories, Sanchita joining us today. She's the owner of the Children's Bookshop, which is one of the oldest children's bookshops in London, and the recent receiver of the prestigious Children's Bookseller of the Year award, joining us today. Thank you so much, Sanchita, for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So firstly, I'd love to congratulate you on winning these prestigious titles. So firstly, Bookseller of the Year, Children's Bookseller of the Year, as well as the Best Book Retailer of the Year. So, how are you feeling winning these awards?
I'm not sure it's really sunk in yet. It's been a very glorious week of, our community celebrating with us, the publishing industry, all the authors and illustrators we work with, they're all very proud of us. We have a long history with them. And I think it's a celebration for all of them, really. So it's a very nice time.
So I also see that your bookstore is now celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. Mm-hmm. So what does it feel like to achieve this milestone? And could you talk to us a little bit about your journey as a person of Indian origin? How did you come about, owning this bookstore, and what was the journey like?
I came to it slightly by accident. I didn't mean to. When I was young, I was about 22 or something, I was just looking to connect with the things that had made me fall in love with reading in the first place. University had made me fall out of love with books. And children's books are what had made me love books in the first place. So I went to the children's bookshop and I said, I will heal myself here. And over the time I was there, I just felt so in love with the bookshop, with the community, with the children, with the schools we were working with. I couldn't leave. And then when it came up for sale, I kept waiting for someone to buy it. And then I thought I would go. But instead, the owners turned around and said, you should probably take it. You love this place. So I did.
So what is it like owning a bookstore, owning a children's bookshop, especially?
It's one of those things where I can't believe I get to wake up every day and do it. It feels like a dream. I'm reading the best array of books. I get to have really important conversations with publishers, writers, illustrators the whole time. But crucially, I get to light up children with the joy of reading every day. And that is like magic.
That's amazing. I think that sounds like anybody's dream job. So I see that you and your team do a lot more than just running a bookshop. You have weekly activities, weekly story time sessions, in-school, author events. So how crucial are these sort of events in building community and helping children, as you said, learn the love of, reading?
Oh, it's vital, particularly because in the UK, we're going through a cost of living crisis at the moment. Under the current government, we have no funding in schools, there are no libraries. So it really feels like we're the connection between children and books and literature. And by taking authors out to schools, by taking illustrators out to schools, we're hopefully inspiring a generation of new writers and new readers. And then we do a lot of work with charities. We send books out all across the country. We do everything we can to foster a love of reading. And I think that's why people come back to us the whole time. We have generations of families who say they learned to love reading because of our work.
That sounds amazing. I think it's so crucial for such activities to foster not just reading, but also build the community with children. As you mentioned that, we're in an age, I think this is coming to my next question, we're in a digital age where we're constantly on our phones, and even reading material, books are easily accessible on our phones. So in this era of, ebooks, Kindle and whatnot, becoming increasingly popular, not just among adults, but as well as children, how important do you think are bookshops, and how do you think bookshops are continuing to sustain themselves? Do you see that, people continue to wanting to read like books or are they moving towards more digital ebooks? Is your bookshop taking any steps to move into this sort of digital revolution?
I think the digital era exists alongside with us, but it's so important to have physical books in your life. It's important developmentally. It's all very well if your baby can zoom in on a phone, but actually, if they don't know how to physically turn a page and interact with a book, that is actually quite harmful. And I think there's a lot of education around how you have to have real books alongside your digital life. But also, what do children like from their digital games and everything? A lot of it is the social aspect. And that's what we bring in the bookshop. We bring it with our book clubs. It's still 15 of us sat around discussing books, arguing, disagreeing, having a laugh, eating biscuits. It is exactly what they enjoy from their digital worlds, but it's all about literature, and where it's that bonding procedure, which I think is what brings everyone together, because it used to be that maybe you'd think of books as being quite an interior hobby, and maybe you can't make friends, but actually you can build the best of networks and communities with it.
So have you, considered implementing any sort of digital initiatives in your bookshop, or, integrating your bookshop in a sense to the digital world?
Not so much. I think we did a lot of it during COVID. We had to. We did online events. We did, we have a thriving website which has a shop and everything. But no, I'm quite old-fashioned. I love my books. I love my bookshop, and I would be in the wrong industry if I wanted to move over to a tablet.
Of course, I can see so many books behind you. So, my next question, honestly, is, as a book lover yourself, who are some authors who, inspired you and continue to inspire you? What are some books that you've been reading recently?
Okay, well, when I was growing up, I loved stories. I loved fantasy. I loved Tolkien and Lord of the Rings. I used to love the comics. My parents were from India, so they used to show me all their old Amar Chitra Kathas and everything. So I used to love those stories of mythology, whether it was Indian, whether it was Greek. So those were some of those key Enid Blytons. I used to love those. And it's quite funny comparing English markets and UK markets, because I think I inherited quite an Indian reading habit. But recently I mainly read children's books, to be honest. But there are fabulous authors like Sita Brahmachari, Jasbinder Bilan, Rikin Parekh, who are doing brilliant things in the children's world. They're all South Asian writers exploring different bits of our heritage, but having a great time with it.
So this is something that I'm quite curious about. What is the day in the life of a, children's bookshop owner?
Every day is different, really. But if I give you my favorite bits of the day, you get in really early, you make a coffee before everyone else turns up, and you have a good look at all the new books that have come in, because somehow every time you turn around, more books have arrived. So I like to just spend an hour getting to know them, getting to read things I haven't read before, reminding myself. I spend a lot of time chatting to publishers, looking at their new books, ordering those. There'll be a lot of boxes with books that people are unpacking, a lot of shop floor recommendations. We chat to everyone who comes in. We're constantly recommending things. If it's the kind of day where I'm going out to a school, I'll spend a day maybe doing a book fair in a school, chatting to the children there in the afternoon. And then I'm running back to the shop and we'll do a little after school session. So maybe a book club or a writing club, something like that. And then there's lunch in the evening.
Just one last question is that you're a person of Indian origin. Did that aspect of your identity, how does that influence your life today and your, work today?
Well, I think particularly since I bought the bookshop, it's become a bit of a hub for South Asian writers who are writing in the children's world, writers and illustrators. So they specifically look to come to the bookshop, or I specifically look for them, and we make those connections and we do what we can to promote the books.
Because we don't see a lot of South Asian writers at least they're not promoted as, heavily in the children's book, arena.
There's not very many. There's still not very many compared to how many of us there are in the UK. There are some incredible reports that come out about this. So I'm very conscious that I'm doing everything I can to make them feel visible and supported, and so that I hope we're all reading their books in 10, 20 years down the line as well. And I think that's something I'm really passionate about doing. And I'm organizing a festival around South Asian children's writers and illustrators later this year. Yeah, I think my heritage is a very strong part of how I read and what I look to put out there.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Sanchita, for joining us. I think you gave us such an interesting insight into not just what it's like to own a children's bookshop, but also the crucial importance of it in our society today and how we influence the next generation in a sense. So thank you so much for joining us today at NDTV.
Thank you.